Welcome to the release of the Sega Mega Drive, Sega Genesis, whatever you want to call it, Lemmings level editor. This is very, very similar to the Master System level editor, so if you have used that software, you're going to be at a bit of an advantage using this particular piece of software. Now, the first thing you'll be greeted with is this very, very generic page. This is your front door to the editor. You can either drag and drop your key in here, or you can get yourself a front door key. Much like the Master System version, I'm not going to store anything about you on my web hosting on my server. Instead, you put in a username, I give you a key, and that is your access point to everything within the editor. Keep that key safe, back it up somewhere, because that is how you get into your levels. So what you first need to do is enter in your username, so I'll put in my name, and then I'll click Create New Project. You'll then be given your key to get in. This is your key, nobody else's key. Don't share it with anybody else. Don't give your user ID to anybody else. This will let you in. Click Download the key to download your key, and then you can click into Open Editor. If you're like me and you were a little bit silly there and didn't download the key, don't worry, you can then download it from your project tab in the editor. Now, this editor is probably going to feel very familiar to you if you used the Master System editor. It's running the same skin, but with a completely different brain behind it, because this is 16-bit Lemmings, and 16-bit Lemmings is very, very different to 8-bit Lemmings. As opposed to having individual tiles, everything is now made up of terrain pieces, and we'll go through those in a little moment. I do want to take you through the screen. First of all, in the very top left, you have a list of all your levels. That's just a quick way to get through to them all. It is still the level manager. We've got our tools here, so we've got draw, that draw stuff. Erase removes a particular piece of tile. I don't often use that in the Genesis editor. Select will then be able to select multiple terrain pieces all at once. Object is for dealing with your objects. We shall get to those. Steel deals with steel blocks. Camera is your camera starting position. That is the left-hand part of the camera, so the very far left of the screen will be at the line. L is for layering, we'll get to that as well. Or should I say L is for highlight no overwrite terrain, again we'll get to that. And P is for layering guides. There are loads of different intricacies with the Mega Drive version, I've got to say. It is not exactly user intuitive. I've tried to make it as simple as possible. I will say that. Whether I have succeeded, I will leave up to your better judgment. We've got some terrain and object actions. Those will be covered soon as well. We've got our brush handle, 500 in the undo redo stack as opposed to just 250 in the Master System version. We've got a snap to grid, which just then lets you move 2 pixels at a time instead of one to try and align things a little bit easier. Reference image is still a thing. And then we have some information about selected tiles, and you can still do brushes, although I have never ever done a brush in this particular version. Let's go over to the left-hand side now, or the right-hand side I should say, and this is your level data. This is where you fill bits in. Unlike with the Master System version, the rating and the level number are locked. So this is per slot only. There are ways to change levels in slots. I'll show you that in just a moment. But you cannot change these. The game gets very unstable if you try changing these on the fly. Number of lemmings you've got between 1 and 100. Percentage to save exactly the same as it is in the Master System. Release rate and your time in equal numbers, or should I say whole numbers, up to 9 minutes. Your skill set, your tile set, your music track ID, and then your camera start position is just listed as a number there as well. You can change that, although sometimes it is a little bit finicky about updating. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Not quite sure why it's misbehaving sometimes, but it sometimes does. We have a level manager, which does take a little second to load because it's got to propagate all of the complex 16-bit thumbnails. Here is where you can see a list of all your levels. They're all going to be classed as custom levels to begin with, but I couldn't give you no levels. So you do have every single level in the game to edit as you like. I will say these special tiled levels at the moment, they are taking a little bit of work trying to figure out how to change to avoid those slots if you can, at least for now. On the left hand side you get the breakdown of the categories. We've got Fun, Tricky, Taxing, Mayhem, Presents, Sunsoft, and then I've done it again and I've got you 240 level slots, including a clone of Fun in Extra 1 and a clone of Tricky in Extra 2. So say for instance you know that you want a fire style level, or you want to adapt a level I should say, into Extra 1. Say for instance you want to adapt Dark Dawn. You'd get it from your right hand panel here, click drag and drop, and then it will overwrite. I will get that not refreshing like that, and I'll get it to remember where you were. So there is Dark Dawn now in Extra 101. We click it and then we can get to editing. So in order to edit a level, I think we should scrap what's in there at the moment. So we're going to click Erase All. We will get rid of everything in this map and start completely from afresh. Just a little word of warning as well, the community button doesn't do anything at the moment. That will be coming hopefully later on. I just need to figure out how it is best to share these 16-bit levels. Now, I do think the best way to demonstrate how this works is to create a level of our own to play. And I reckon, you know, the one to do is don't do anything too hasty. So I have loaded in a reference image here. It is 512 pixels wide by 160 pixels high. That is the dimensions of a Mega Drive level, so do bear that in mind if you're designing levels. You can create a reference image. It doesn't have to be out of Lemmings blocks, it can be out of anything you like. You can maybe just think of a route you want to make it out of rough squares, and then decorate it in the game. You've got your opacity slider now as opposed to a number. I found this much easier to use in my little testing of it, and we shall get to work. So let's hide this for a moment so I can show you how all of this works. Your most simple tool is the draw tool. This will let you place any of your tiles. They are completely unrestrained. You can move them any height or width you like. So you can move them individual pixels at a time. They are not bound to an 8x8 grid, unlike in the Master System. You can place them upside down by pressing F or clicking the flip button, and you can flip them vertically. You cannot flip horizontally though. You can subtract, so that is where the outline of the tile you have selected is going to be cut out of the tile that's placed down on the map. So you do that, and that has now taken a little nibble out of the tile behind it. But if you then get out of subtract mode, you can place something above. It is ordered layering. And if you scroll down, you can adjust the order of the layer. That's moving it. But +1 brings it above. -1 takes it behind. Back sends it to the back. Front sends it to the front. So that is your basic terrain tools. You've also got some things like no overlay, which will draw right at the very back layer for you as well. I don't normally use that. I normally manually select because you get a little bit more control that way and you don't accidentally leave it on. Now, you may have noticed there is a distinct lack of entrances or exits. That's because these are classed as objects in this game, and unlike your terrain, objects do snap to an 8x8 grid. So you've got your entrance, you've got your goals split into two parts. That is because of the two-player game. You've got a top half and a bottom half. And you can always highlight and delete. I am still working on the right click to deselect. For some reason, it just isn't working. Whatever I do, it just doesn't want to work. But that is a bug I am trying to fix, so do bear that in mind. You can still click and hold and move other objects. You're just going to have a ghost of whatever object you've got selected at the moment. It's annoying, but it will hopefully get fixed in time, as long as I can find a fix for it anyway. But that is how you do the objects. You don't need to set anything, but you do need to place them in via the Objects tab, as opposed to the Terrain tab. Now, very quickly, to build your project, you do click the Build Project button here, and then you can upload a clean version of the Sega Mega Drive version of Lemmings. It's a European version because I did dump my own cartridge in order to create the one which will be checked against. So please do make sure to only use the European version. And then once you've uploaded it, it will be able to be downloaded as a clean version, or as a fully built version, I should say. But now I am going to switch over to my own personal editor, so I'm not capturing my browser, so that awkwardness doesn't happen if I move my mouse too far up. It's going to be virtually the same. I've got a slightly different project tab because it's all on my PC, but the level creation will be the same. So here we back are, this time in my PC version of the editor. I've dragged a task for blockers and bombers into the first level, just so that we've got something fairly easy to work with. I've also dragged in a reference image here. This reference image is of Don't Do Anything Too Hasty. I can't remember if I mentioned that earlier in the tutorial, but this is what we're going to be building from. So let's get to building a level together, shall we? We start off here with the bricks, and while I'm doing this, I will tell you there are 5 tile sets in total in the Mega Drive version, plus your custom bitmap levels, those being the 4 special levels from the stock game, as well as the Sunsoft special. I'm working on figuring out how the hell those work, so that we can look at getting some special bitmap levels in ourselves at some point. Whether that will happen is a complete mystery to me at the moment, but we shall see. It's very fun learning a game which is so familiar yet so unfamiliar at the same time. I don't really know too much about the Mega Drive version of Lemmings. I'm very much a Master System and PSP person myself, so this is all new to me, and I am really enjoying learning because it's giving me really valuable coding experience, and that is something you can't really complain about. So there's our first little platform. I think we might be running too high with this though. Let's bring it down a little bit, just like that. And then we can get on with get out of subtract mode first, adding these little structural supports onto the level. Now, because everything is piece-based, it does mean overlapping works as well. Now, we do also have our favourite brush handles from the other version of the level editor. These make a welcome return, and it's great for precision. These are all kinds of on the wonk, aren't they? That one is far higher than that other pair of them there, so let's move. No, actually, I like the height of those. We'll keep that one the same, and we'll move these up instead. Just like that. It doesn't have to be perfect for a tutorial. It's just got to get the gist across, that's all. And one thing I've noticed is because the bounding boxes are weird in these, you don't often have the terrain centered where you think it is. So it's a little bit of trial and error, but that's part of the fun of creating levels. We're going to add in our little pillars here, our little cone-shaped things. That one's too far right, that one's too far left. That one is spot on, and that one's fine as well. We'll cover this with some more brickwork now. 1, 2, and 3 maybe, or is it 4? Let's find out. It's going to be 4. So we'll select those, copy and paste, and that is that brickwork done. Flip this so that we can have an upside down cap around about here. Add some of this tubing up the middle, and then F4 flip again, and that looks vaguely about right with an extra one placed in for good measure there. We've got some thin bricks here, so let's do 1, 2, and 3. Then we'll select this, we'll go down to that and pick the bring to front so that it is now in front of our little bricks behind there. That is almost all the terrain of the level already done. I'm just going to hide the reference image because I have a feeling these are going to look bloody awful there. So let's hide that. Yeah, these are all kinds of skew, if goodness me. They are really bad, aren't they? Maybe I need to bring them up a little bit. Maybe that is the issue. and then bring these up to the front instead. Like 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, that still doesn't look great, but it looks better than it did. And that's all we can really ask for at the moment in this quick and dirty level recreation. We'll go and plonk a entrance there, and then we shall do a goal here. We're going to need, because this is quite a high up one, we'll need the bottom left handle for the top of that. Oh, I've not coded it for objects yet. I need to get that fixed. Let's go and move that up a selection as well. There we go. There is our exit, and we do need to go back to the terrain now, and we need to write the word heaven with an arrow. Now, there are only 64 tiles they can, or should I say terrain pieces, for each level, and Psygnosis and Sunsoft decided that what they really wanted was to use 28 of them on alphabet and punctuation in the fire tile set. I'll leave it to your better judgment as to whether that was a good call or not, but it does mean we can spell stuff out, and we'll cap that off with an arrow. Now, if we hide the reference image, it's looking pretty close to Don't Do Anything Too Hasty, but we are missing some fire. Before we do that, let's just bring the camera to there so that we don't start on the wonk. So we'll have that. Actually, let's move it a little bit further to the left so that the players can see that you will fall off the edge. We do now need some fire in this level, and you've got to be very, very careful with these big objects. We might end up having to remove them, or we might end up having to not have one here. And that is because of VRAM limits, the amount of video memory. Have too many of these, your entire level will get corrupted, and it will look like garbage on the screen, and it won't play. So do be careful with them. There is an option with the terrain, object above layer or object behind layer. So at the moment it's unselected, it's O is greater than T, so that draws on top. When it's selected, T is greater than O, so the object draws behind the terrain, which is what we want in this instance, and that is also how you would do your hidden exits. Think Lost Something and Stray Sheep as examples of those. Objects, by the way, can overlap, but they look ugly if they overlap for the most part, so I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, I do need to get these brush handles fixed. In the meantime, we will just botch it by moving all of these objects to the right. Still very much a work in progress, still very much version 0 as opposed to version 1 of this thing, but I am just happy that it is working. So, level. This is fun one. These are locked, because if we unlock them, bad things happen. Believe me, I've tried unlocking them. Let's do the standard Sega Master System 2050. Release rate of 1, time of 8 minutes, and then 20 of everything. Tileset fire, music ID, I don't know. Let's go for 6. Don't know what each music is yet. We'll find out together. So that has now been saved to the project. I'm going to build my project. Let me not output an IPS patch, but let's output the Genesis patch, or the full Genesis build, I should say. Now, I still have to verify this on my PC. That is just so that I can prove that I'm not doing anything dodgy either. So let us build the project. We need to save it to somewhere. So let's save it to here. And then build project, build complete. At last it has made. I've already done a bit of testing with this, and this is where I was figuring out VRAM, which is why that looks like that at the moment. But we can then go and load in my new one. So load it in. I'm using RetroArch because that's my emulator of choice for this kind of stuff. And let's see how this goes. We have sound, hopefully, eventually, with this game. We'll go to one player, and in the ROM, something to note is, much like in the Master System version, I've got every level unlocked by default for you. So that is every level in Fun, Tricky, Taxing, Mayhem, Present, and Sunsoft Extra 1 and Extra 2. So let's go back to our first level. I didn't rename it, did I? It's still called A Task for Blockers and Bombers. Knew there was something I forgot. Let's rename that to Don't Do Anything Too... I can't remember the capitalization of this, so I'm just going to wing it. Don't do anything too hasty. Give it another save. Give it another rebuild. I was thinking that looked wrong. And this should now, when we load into the game, hopefully, in giant hopefully letters, don't do anything too hasty. It's okay. It's worked. Let me double check that we are not muted as well. I should have done this beforehand, but I didn't. So let's do that, and let's have a see if it works. So we do have a couple of terrain issues that I still need to fix. That could be the VRAM, you know. That is the VRAM. The VRAM is getting corrupted because we've got too many objects on the screen. So the fix for that, unfortunately, is we're not going to be able to have the fire behind because it does take a real strain on the VRAM. It was worth a go and it does demonstrate how it works, but you might need to be very, very restricted with the fire and the water and acid tiles in your game. I will look and see if there's a way to work around it, but I'm not that familiar with how this game works yet. So let's reload it in without the fire. It does look a little bit blank, but here is the level in all of its glory. And that music track ends up being Pachelbel's Canon. Very, very nice. So we've got one level all made, but I've got something else to show you. Let's get back into the editor. So here we are back in the editor. I have found a not very elegant solution to deselecting objects. If you just click it again in your objects panel, it will deselect, and then you can select and move your objects as much as you like. But there is one more thing I would like to show you. If I go into the level manager here, we are going to go all the way down to Extra 1, and this is something I've been working on as well in this editor. We have custom tile sets. We are starting off with the Sega tile set, and you may notice there have been some compromises here. Things like the little pieces of mold, is it? Whatever they are, have had to go into a very, very bright blue colour, and then the exposed brickwork as well has had to be black. That is because we only got 8 colours for our terrain here in the Genesis version, as opposed to 16 on the Master System version. So the 8-bit has the upper hand there over the 16-bit, and that does mean some compromises have had to be made. Let's get that all aligned up perfectly as well. But yep, I have recreated just Sega 1 for now as a little proof of concept, and this level all works. I've used the Neo Lemmings tile terrain pieces just in the interim as a little proof of concept to show that it works, and we have everything all in from the tile set. So let's build with this in place now, and let's give it a little bit of a whirl. So let's go back to the emulator now, and let's see it in action. Let us skip through the intro here on to 1 player. And if we go into Extra 1, we'll see Sega 1. And this is what it looks like in game. Had to make quite a few compromises, but it gets the gist over, doesn't it? And that's all we can really ask for. Oh, missed that. The buttons are the wrong way round compared to what I'm used to. So this is probably going to be quite a disaster trying to get it all played. But it does give me an opportunity to show you that the trap does indeed work. So I've got the trap working for this tile set as well. I've got to say, custom tile sets were actually easier on this version than they were on the Master System version. Far, far more intuitive code to look at compared to the Master System version. There are a few bugs in the terrain at the moment, terrain gaps that do need fixing. But as a V1, I'm very happy about it. Let's keep all the lemmings trapped in there for now. Actually, that might be a good place to keep them, as I have to test the exit. One thing I am struggling with is exit placement in the tile set. Oh, that's a bloody basher, isn't it? For goodness sake, Squidgy. Anyone would think I've not played this game before. I have. I've just not really played the Mega Drive version. It's lucky that we have a lot of lemmings to spare in this one. There we go. There's a builder. And we'll see if this does work in the way it's intended. If the exit works, then we can call this a success. And it does. Perfect. So that is this tile set all complete. Very, very, very happy about that. That means that we have the potential for goodness knows how many tile sets in the future. There's a lot of space we can make in this, and it's a lot easier to add tile sets in this than it is in the Master System version. So really, the sky is the limit. The only restriction is that 64 for the number of pieces for the terrain. But yeah, I didn't want to leave you with just a simple level editor. I did want to add something a little bit extra, so you've got an extra style to play with as well. And that means that technically you could create abridged versions of all the Master System levels. But that is where I'm going to call this tutorial video. It's quite long as it is. I don't want to overload you with information. Anything you want to know about the editor, leave it in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. I hope you have fun. Support works on this as well. It goes straight through to my admin panel. Got any questions directly with what you're doing, put them in the admin panel support. I'll get back to you as soon as possible.